there were many words used there that were not used by anyone on the panel, let alone myself. But I do understand the strength of feeling that is associated with this issue. I don't think at any point anyone is suggesting that any of the heads have been irresponsible or slow-shouldered or other such words. And I continue to be impressed by the commitment and emotion and passion that heads and chairs of governors, even though we may disagree in the way we go about working with each other, we all agree that we're doing this for the right reasons, to improve standards. However, I recognise the amount of applause that last observation received, but it's not a view that I recognised was represented by anyone on this panel. So the other thing I would like to add is that 2007 was 6 years ago. Again, no one's sloping shoulders on this panel, but neither this local authority nor this councillor were around in office at that time. And as I said, for 40 years we've had argument over 3-tier, 2-tier. And I don't think it's helpful to continue that argument. We are where we are, and what we need to do is try to work together. And we should focus on that theme and that approach that some of us are trying to put forward this evening. The worst thing we can do tonight is leave the meeting feeling even more entrenched or retrenched, more dug in, prepared to fight on. I think what we should, all of us, just pause and try to remind what the best outcome could be if we were an alien from outer space. What would you want these people in the room to leave this room feeling like they might want to do next?
A place in a middle school.
Right. And I hear you. And I hear you. And I hear you. And I will reflect upon those views in the consultation process when the schools put in their proposal to me, the maintained schools, not the academies. When they put in that proposal, they'll say, this is our consultation, these are the criteria by which you wish us to write this bid and consider this bid, this proposal. That's what we're doing, and one of those considerations is the impacts on children and other schools and the flow of pupil numbers through the system and the actual numbers of places. And as the decision maker, not the proposer, I will, of course, reflect on that. I'll be advised on that. We'll weigh up the school's proposal, and we will come to a view in due course, in the fullness of time. But we should try to, when we leave the room tonight, do it in a spirit of working together, not making the situation worse by trading insults or playing language back that hasn't been used by anyone on the panel tonight.
So may I offer just a solution?
Can I, well, before you do, Des, can I just, because we've had a number of questions and we'll forget what they were if we don't take them, and then we might come back with the chairman's indulgence for one or two more. Can I ask, Rob, are you going to take one of those questions and then we'll move on?
You asked a question, I believe you said your child is in the middle school setting at the moment. How is your voice heard in Mansard's consultation? If a middle school is proposing to become primary, or another school is intending on extending its age range downwards to become secondary, that consultation is key. It was the first bullet point on my slide for council-maintained schools. The level of parental demand and support for the change is the number one factor there.
But is it the parents?
Now, it's the responsibility of the school's governing body in bringing forward that proposal to ensure that its consultation actually touches on all of those parents of children who would eventually feed through if that proposal were supported. If you miss out and it's not captured in the first 6 weeks period, it's a shame, because then your response won't influence the governing body's decision on whether to progress the consultation forward or not. But in the second stage, the second 6-week process, any response that you give will be directly back to the authority, and a response that Councillor Vassalli will consider directly in that final executive committee meeting.
Just very briefly, yes. I mean, I think, in summary, we are here because schools are seeking change. and we are here because we need to raise standards, Key Stage 2, 3 and 4 in particular, and in Dunstable and Houghton Regis. The council, as you have heard, cannot conduct the kind of centrally driven change that it could do. Its role is very different, but it can broker and help those conversations to take place and move things forward. And I think as a community, as we've just heard from Rob, there are multiple consultations which are part of that very strict process where the decision is being made by Councillor Vassallian and the council, where the decision ultimately is being made by the Secretary of State, as in the case of Houghton Regis Academy. Therefore, there are processes which can be followed. The speed of change is no slower and no quicker. Now it's started, in fact, in some instances it may well end up as a swifter change, and one which the schools themselves have reached. So that's really my summary.
Do you want to say anything, Andrew? Or?
Just to reiterate really what I said earlier, I mean there's clearly uncertainty, and I go back to what I said at the beginning, Steve, that I think the sooner we can end that uncertainty, the better.
Okay, I'm going to end it, but I'm not normally known for my indulgence, but this gentleman said he's going to make a suggestion.
Well, thank you. As it is clear that it's going to be very difficult for the council and everybody to get involved in that way, why not the governing bodies and the head teachers request from Mr. Sidhu and from Councillor Vassallian that there is a brochure, hold a brief moratorium, everybody, let's approve an into life, everybody gather together, look at your own school's issues, but see it in the context of the town-wide. Sit down, discuss it, and then we can go together.
Very lively evening, and quite rightly so. There's been a lot of you here. It's quite warm, it's getting quite late. Thank you all for coming, and I can guarantee that people heard what you had to say, and the suggestions seem